And I was just like, but you have to learn to value yourself as a whole person. Because if you start nitpicking and pulling these little pieces out of yourself, you're doing no better than what the public tries to do to you all the time. Because if that day comes to where you don't have the highest score in the class, you're not the valedictorian, you're not the smartest person in the room on any given topic, then what are you going to value about yourself then? You have to find that internal compass of value that's not hinged upon these particular things being in a certain space, right? Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifestor, and I'm sure you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of our channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting the lives that we choose, right? What I'm discussing in this video is the importance of paying attention to what you value about yourself, right? So when we come up through the rankings, I'll say that we come up as children, we grow up into adults. Many times we don't, and this is my sociological training, right? Because I'm always thinking about that. Your primary group, which are the people that have the biggest influence on you when you first come into this world, right? We don't always have access to why they value certain things about us, why they don't, and then why they push certain things in us and why they don't push other things. Because human beings and Mother Nature and like creating children, it's really just a hodgepodge. And everything mostly is noticed in hindsight for the most part, right? Some things you can see ahead of time, but other things is kind of just, oh, I always knew she was like that. Even when she was little, she used to. It's not always the case where you can see a clear linear path for a person from one thing to the next, right? So in these environments, when we start to get influenced by everybody and everything around us, the people around us start to dictate what is valuable about us, right? So say you're a young girl and you're very, very pretty, you're very, very cute, you're very, very just adorable. You'll hear that from the time you're like 3, 4 years old, 5, and you'll hear it all the way through, right? You're so adorable, you're so cute, right? So this is the thing, when you go through your funny stage around 10, 11, 12 years old, when you start to, when everything's kind of stretching out and in, out and in. out and in, and you kind of looking different. You look at the pictures, you be like, I look strange there. When you go through that, and people aren't saying you're so cute or you're so pretty anymore, because people are quite shallow, right? And they don't see the same person. They're not seeing the same thing. You can see like a value proposition happening in your life. It's like, wait, I was valued for this, but now people aren't saying it. So like, who am I now? Like, what am I if I'm not valued for that thing, right? And a lot of women come in contact with this when they hit a certain age. And it's not like I think that women get less attractive with age. I think they get even more beautiful, especially if they're taking care of themselves, right? Because they seem elegant, they seem sure of themselves, they seem confident. And it's a really beautiful sight to see a woman in that space, right? So, but a lot of women don't want to get age, right? And this may be men too, but I'm not sure. I'm only talking from the interactions that I've had and the intimate conversations I've had with most women. And they don't want to age. And so as they get older, they get more frustrated with that process because they're not getting looked at as much. They're not getting, catcalled as much. I think that's relief. But some people may not see it that way, right? I think it's wonderful to be able to go in the store and not have people, whatever, look at you every 2 seconds and all that kind of stuff and try to, I would say get to know you, but it ain't really getting to know you, to try to get in your pants, because that's pretty much what it is mostly when you're young. It's not really, she looks like a very respectable woman, let me make her my wife. It's not the most of the looks you're getting in catcalls. So like, you can pump your gas without people, honking the horn 10 times. You can do all these things. So you just have to remember. So I've seen it happen. And then they look around and say, well, what is my value now? I've been touted my whole entire life because I was an attractive woman, because I, was beautiful, blah, 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 blah. But now, like, what is my value going to be? And you'll see personality shifts at those points in people's lives too, because they realize, well, to continue thriving, this is not the way anymore, because this is just not a value for someone at my age. And to this extent, I'm going to have to find something of more substance, right? And it can happen almost anywhere in any environment. So if you're a person that's touted for your intellect, right, and you try to get into an Ivy League school and you don't make it, you can feel like a huge failure because you valued your intellect as such a heavy part of who you are. I went through this similar situation with my oldest daughter, because she's always been told her whole entire life that she's so smart, and she is very smart, always has been. In elementary school and all that kind of stuff, middle school, I homeschooled them for a bunch of years. I never had any issues with her understanding anything, catching on to anything. She did the curriculum without my help most of the time. So a lot of times I got in her way. So she's brilliant, don't you get me wrong. But when she got to high school, she come off of being out of school from the pandemic. They weren't ready or prepared prepared for the students really to come back without having knowledge, which you should have learned in 8th grade math and stuff. And she kind of did a crash. And she was so upset with herself because she was just like, I'm supposed to be so smart. And I was just like, but you have to learn to value yourself as a whole person. Because if you start nitpicking and pulling these little pieces out of yourself, you're doing no better than what the public tries to do to you all the time. Because if that day comes to where you don't have the highest score in the class, you're not the valedictorian, you're not the smartest person in the room on any given topic, then what are you going to value about yourself then? You have to find that internal compass of value that's not hinged upon these particular things being in a certain space, right? I realized with myself for a long time, I have been hardcore valuing being a mother. Like, man, that was my claim to fame because I'm the youngest of 6 people. All my siblings are a bit older than me, except for one. And, it's a bit, for me, it didn't feel like a gap. I've always felt very mature. But when I look back like 7 years and older, like, yeah, it was a big gap because I was 10, they were 17. There's quite a bit of a gap. But through those times, I realized that I'd never taken care of anyone or anything before. Let me see the screen. It must be. Oh, no, it just got darker. Who cares? I've never taken care of anything before, right? Because everybody took care of me. Things were taken care of for me. So when I had my daughters and I realized that it was like a full-time job and that, they depended on me for everything and everything that I did was going to mean something in the future, my drive and ambition went in overdrive because I was like, I got to have a good life because I got kids. There's no way I want a bad life with kids. I'm just never going to be a person comfortable with that. I need to be comfortable. I need my kids to be comfortable. I need to not be in survival mode. I need to be able to thrive. And so my whole life and identity was wrapped around being a hardcore righteous woman who was raising her kids, ain't got no time for dating, ain't got no time for, hanging out at this club, that club, and all that kind of stuff. And that became a huge part of who I was. And then as time went on, when my daughter started getting older and they started getting into their own headspace, they wanted their own rooms and stuff like that, you really have to start thinking like, okay, I put way too much value in what I was for them. I have to find that value back in myself again, right? Because it can be easy. It's external. You can get rewards immediately. You make the little children some spaghetti and, spaghetti and a chicken tender and some lemonade, put it on the table. And they're like, thank you, mommy. It's beautiful, right? And the thing about it is, my daughter said, thank you, mommy, yesterday. So they still say the same stuff. But I mean, it's a different, more innocent time. And so I was able to latch on to it like I was just the beginning and the end of their lives. And as time went on, you realize it's like, yeah, they depend on me like 100% of the time, but I have to find something else to value in myself as opposed to just valuing the fact that I'm a mother, right? And so a lot of these videos, if you go back and look at any of my old videos over all this time, because a friend of mine just told me that I was almost at 1,000 videos. And I was just like, if you look at the progression over time, what I focused on as time has gone on has gradually came to this space where I'm realizing that you have to be your own validator. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to be careful about what you value about yourself and value in others. You have to be careful about the things that you fear in life because they'll come showing up at your front door. It's like all of these things are about being more comfortable and happy and loving with yourself. So whenever something goes on that I don't care about, that I don't like, and it's really getting on my nerves, I always say, what would you tell a friend? So I won't put myself in a position of overvaluing something in my life and then it went wrong and now all of a sudden I'm a horrible person, right? Even if you were in the workplace or something that was not suiting you, an environment that was just not suiting you. I see why it's getting darker. The sun's coming and going. The environment that's just not suiting you. You can't walk around and think, oh, look at a squirrel on a power line. That's so cute. He's doing a good job. These things are consuming you. You can't walk around and think that, oh, this job or this place or this environment was my full identity. Now, who am I going to be? Right? I see celebrities have this issue all the time. So just be mindful. I think it's important to value things about yourself, but in your valuing, try not to be attached. And that's like being a wife. I'm glad I never defined myself as that. Because I'd be in a lot of trouble because I'm no longer a wife, but I'd be in a lot of trouble because that would be a huge impact in me. That would be a huge blow to my confidence and self-worth, right? If that was something, and it almost would be a situation to where it wouldn't matter if the spouse I chose, if he was being a good person or we were having a good marriage, because my value is much more placed on being able to say my husband, my marriage or whatever like that, as opposed to the quality of said environment, right? So we just want to always keep, it's good to value the things. It's wonderful to value it. I value money. I value income. I value my relationship with my daughters. I value my family. I value my work, what I do. I value my career. I value people that I find to be special in my life, and I allow them into my space. I value them hardcore. But I'm never going to be less of a person if any of those things aren't around. Yes, there may take a grieving moment or a grieving period to let things go when it's time to move on to something else. But at the end of the day, if my value is solidly placed inside of me, all of this stuff can come and go and swirl around in my space, and I can still be a healthy and whole and complete version, not perfect, but don't need to be, version of Jameelah that can show up in many environments and still create tons of value for other people and for myself. Right? I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.